Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
The dual Doppler 5000 radar is quite colorful as I'm tracking this widespread band of rain moving into the triangle. I'll walk you through how long it sticks with us today, coming up.
And the state delivers closing arguments in the case of several pellet gun shootings. And next up, it's the defense. We'll have a live update on the Henderson Atwater case.
Plus, Israel vows to retaliate against Hezbollah after what it calls the deadliest civilian attack since the war began.
Grab your umbrella before you head out to lunch. We are tracking widespread rain across the triangle. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a closer look at where the rain is now and how long it'll stick around.
And, you know, it may just be sprinkling where you are right now, especially if you live in Wake County, but grab the umbrella before you head anywhere, because by the time you leave, this steady rain that's moving through Chatham County will have arrived. And it's moving into Durham right now. Chapel Hill, a pretty steady light rain as well. So just be prepared for the intensity of the rain to pick up a little bit. And it's going to last a while. This band of rain is very slow moving. The exception would be toward the North Carolina-Virginia line, where the band not quite far enough to the north to have much of an impact on you. But for the rest of us, this is a pretty high rain chance that's going to stick with us through about 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then there could be some scattered showers left behind that initial band as it starts to dissipate and pushes to the east. So after dinner time tonight, rain chances will gradually decrease. Still a lot of clouds hanging around. That's keeping temperatures down. We are also monitoring the tropics. Unfortunately, right as we head into August, tropical trouble is brewing out there. And this system really doesn't look healthy on satellite right now. It's right in this area. It's fighting a lot of dry air. But as it moves closer to the Caribbean and especially the Bahamas, it could move into an environment that's more favorable for development. That would likely happen this weekend. So it's got a moderate chance of developing over the next 7 days, and I'll have a closer look at where it could head coming up in about 15 minutes.
A 3-year-long saga appears to be coming to a close. Henderson Atwater is accused in a string of pellet gun shootings and sat in jail for it for about 2.5 years.
Closing arguments are taking place right now. WRAL's Sean Gallagher was in the courtroom. He joins us now with what's happened. Sean.
Yeah, I just stepped out of the courtroom in the last 5 minutes after closing arguments for both sides ended. The state earlier today saying this has to be much more than a coincidence. The fact that Henderson Atwater's vehicle was seen on surveillance at a number of these shootings back over the course of 2020 through 2022. Now, this is the silver Volkswagen Jetta that was shown on a number of those surveillance videos. The state pointing out that despite the quality of the video here, there were identifiers showing that this was Atwater's vehicle, including the license plate. But the defense says Atwater physically couldn't use the gun. The state is saying that he did to use this, and the police had a shoddy investigation as well. Here's both sides.
We don't have every hole filled. Could law enforcement done better on this? Yes. The state is not going to argue that this was a perfect investigation. Does anything else make sense but that? Does anything else make sense than this? Than Mr. Atwater? We'll never know why he did this. But the reality is he did do this. Because again, things stop being coincidences and they start becoming reality.
What he did testify to, though, is that they went so far as to use pole cameras, Arlo cameras, and LPR cameras. Doesn't know how long they were there. If there was anything of evidentiary value from those cameras, do you think you might have seen it? Probably so. So what does that tell you?
And while we haven't heard from Atwater during the trial, he was admonished by the judge for audibly yawning during closing arguments, something the judge says he had done a number of times over the course of this trial. Now, they are giving jury instructions right now as we speak, and we expect the jury to go into deliberations any minute now. And of course, this evening, we'll bring you anything that happens from the result. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Wake County.
Covering Wake County, a child care worker is charged with misdemeanor child abuse. Court papers list the woman's employer as Cornerstone Learning Center in Raleigh. WRAL's Ken Smith is here now with what we know about the incident and the child care worker now facing charges. Ken.
Renee, we're getting more information today about this incident that happened this past Friday and reported to Fuquay Varina police that very same day. Well, this is the child care worker now facing charges. She's 68-year-old Ramona Fiorillo. Court papers show at the time of her arrest. Fiorillo worked for the Cornerstone Learning Center in Wake County. According to the arrest warrant, Fiorillo is accused of forcefully picking up a 4-year-old child, slamming the child onto a chair, and squeezing the child's cheek so hard that it caused some bruising. The charges against her include assault on a child and misdemeanor child abuse. Now, we have a lot of questions about this story, including Fiorillo's qualifications to be a child care worker, the Learning Center's response to these charges, and of course, how the child is doing. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is working the story, trying to get all those answers. Look for new reporting starting at 4 right here on WRAL News on Fox 50.
Deputies are still looking for the woman they say stabbed a man in Wake County this morning. The sheriff's office was called to a home on Forest Branch Road. This is near Fuquay Varina, a little before 8. They found a man who had been stabbed. He was taken to the hospital. Witnesses told the WRAL Breaking News Tracker they heard arguing coming from the home about an hour before police got there. No arrest has been made at this time.
Thousands of firefighters are facing another tough day battling the massive park fire in the mountains of Northern California. That blaze exploded in size over the weekend. It closed a national park. That fire has burned now more than 360,000 acres. It is 12% contained. Now, for perspective, the park fire has burned about 560 square miles, larger than the city of Phoenix. A 42-year-old North California man accused of starting that park fire is expected to make his first court appearance today.
Firefighters now say they have the upper hand on the Point Fire near the San Francisco Bay Area. The fire is now about 85% contained, but families are now facing a new challenge: cleaning up a bright pink mess of leftover fire retardant. The streets are all pink, but that's not all. Yards, homes, cars, even playgrounds. It is a small price to pay, though, considering they still have their homes.
My wife referred to it as Barbieville or something. It was so pink. They told us it's water soluble, so it should wash off.
Many neighbors say it's a blessing that the danger in their neighborhood has passed because they know they could have come back to nothing.
It's the end of an era for Swift Creek Elementary School in Raleigh. This morning, crews began tearing down that building to make room for a major renovation. The newly renovated building will hold the same amount of students, but the square footage will be larger to meet new curriculum standards. The school was last renovated in 1991. Classes will be held on Timber Drive during this current renovation project. The new Swift Creek is set to reopen next year. This is all part of a 7-year school improvement project in Wake County, and you can see some of the schools included on this map. Nearly a dozen new buildings for schools are set to open by 2026. This week, school leaders from across the state will gather to work on strategies for safer schools. The 2024 Rise Back to School Safety Summit is happening today through Friday in Wilmington. It'll include sessions on combating bullying, opioid and substance abuse, and suicide, as well as responding to critical incidents and helping children through trauma. It is the signature event of the year for the Department of Public Instruction's Center for Safer Schools.
An NC State graduate could make her mark in the Olympic pool in the next few hours. Catherine Burkhoff made it to the semifinals in the women's 100-meter backstroke. She is one of 2 American swimmers to make the cut this morning. Burkhoff will swim the second heat. She's slated for just after 3 this afternoon. And you can watch the semifinals live on WRAL. Finals are tomorrow afternoon. Swimming will take center stage as part of tonight's NBC primetime lineup. The schedule includes the women's 400-meter IM finals, the men's 200-meter freestyle final, and the men's gymnastics team finals. It all starts at 8 p.m. on WRAL.
Another setback today for the efforts to swim in the River Seine. Olympic organizers canceled the triathlon swimming training session for the second day in a row today. This comes after heavy rain affected the water quality on that river. If the water doesn't meet standards tomorrow, the entire race moves to August 2nd. So far in these games, the United States leads the way with a total of 12 medals. You see the count here. The host country is right behind them with 10. China's in third with 9 total medals. Competition is going on right now in Paris, so these numbers will change throughout the day.
Next at noon, a national day of mourning for Sonia Massey. The vigils and rallies for the Illinois woman shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy in her home.
Also, a roof collapse at a restaurant in Florida. The number of people injured when that building caved in.
Plessy was found safe Friday, but the mother of a 9-year-old Durham boy is in court today, accused of abducting him. We'll have a live report at 12:30.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, the Fayetteville Police Department has charged Kaylon Frank with felony indecent exposure and misdemeanor secret peeping. This is him. The arrest stems from an incident at a restaurant on Skybow Road, June 9th. Frank was taken into custody July 26th. He was held on a $100,000 secured bond. He has since posted bond and has been released from the Cumberland County Detention Center.
Activists call it a national day of mourning. People who attended rallies and vigils across the country yesterday demanding justice for Sonia Massey. The 36-year-old was shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy in her home after she called 911 for help. Amy Kiley reports on the widespread outrage.
Activists across the country are calling for justice for Sonia Massey, declaring yesterday a national day of mourning.
That situation that happened is just unbelievable, that young lady was killed in her house like that.
Former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson is charged with murder for Massey's death. Officials say he was in her home near Springfield, Illinois, because she had called 911 for help. Body cam video shows her taking boiling water off the stove and him firing his weapon.
She called for help, and instead she was gunned down in her home. And I felt that. There's so many people here, I think, who looked at it and said, that should not be happening in 2024.
Many rallygoers say the shooting adds to their desire for police reform.
We want to stand in solidarity with her family and demand the passage of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
The Justice Department says it's looking into the shooting. Tonight, it's facilitating a community healing and listening session in Springfield. Activists say the country needs to ensure a shooting like this does not happen again.
We can no longer tolerate the indiscriminate killing of our sisters and brothers.
Massey's death is being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice.
New York City is turning to scanners powered by artificial intelligence in a new effort to keep guns out of its subway system. It's a 30-day pilot program that uses the Evolve scanner to detect if someone's carrying a gun or knife. It will only be at select stations, though, and some riders say criminals will find a way to avoid being caught.
Now, let's say if I had something, which I don't, and I came downstairs and seen this, I'm going to go around the corner to the other station and come down and catch the train and bypass this. Do you have one set up at the other train station? No.
And some riders say it's a waste of money because, like all technology, it'll break down or malfunction.
The state's Board of Elections meets in a couple hours as it is facing 2 lawsuits over the names on the presidential ballot. North Carolina Democrats are suing the board over its decision to allow Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the ballot. They say his We the People party is not legitimate, and he avoided more stringent requirements for an individual to get on the ballot by creating the party. Backers of Cornel West are also suing the Board of Elections. They say the board improperly rejected the Justice for All party's access to the ballot. The board's regularly scheduled meeting is at 3 this afternoon. Today, President Joe Biden will be in Texas. He's making a stop in Houston to pay his respects to the family of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who died earlier this month. He will then travel to Austin. He plans to visit the LBJ Presidential Library to mark the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act.
Iowa's 6-week abortion ban will take effect today. 6 weeks is roughly when a fetal heartbeat can be detected, and even possibly before many women know they're even pregnant. The law passed last year, but a judge had blocked it from being enforced. Iowa is among nearly 24 states that have banned or limited access to abortion procedures since the Dobbs decision. At least 9 people were injured when the roof of a restaurant collapsed in Florida. It happened around 7 p.m. in downtown Naples. The restaurant was evacuated as fire and EMS units checked the building for hazards. 7 people were taken to the hospital, and the other 2 were treated at the scene. No neighboring buildings were affected.
After a dry weekend, the rain returns. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. And Kat, these storms are to the west of us this morning, and they've made it here.
They are here now, and it's starting as a light rain, but be prepared for the intensity to pick up a bit. As of now, we still don't have any thunder and lightning, so it's just rain for now. But in Apex, some light rain falling the roads, starting to get wet there in Apex. Downtown Raleigh, a steady light rain just starting to move in, but the heavy rain that's moving through Pittsboro, Jordan Lake right now, that's going to be headed your way next, and this is going to continue for a couple of hours, so make sure that you've got your rain gear with you. You're going to need a raincoat or an umbrella today, and you can see these pockets of heavier rain mixed in. That's the yellow, the oranges that you see there. We'll watch this band slowly push to the east. It's a 70% chance of rain at 1 o'clock. By the time we get to 3 o'clock, that chance about 60%. And then after dinner tonight, the chance for rain really starts to go down. But let's talk tropics again. It's been a while since we've had to track anything in the Atlantic. We do have a system with about a 50% chance of developing over the next 7 days. Here is where it is right now. Doesn't look like much, and it doesn't look very healthy. But as it moves closer to the Bahamas, the Caribbean, it's going to enter an environment that's perhaps more favorable for development. The European model was the first to pick up on possible development, and it has remained pretty steady in that over the weekend and into today, showing about a 40 to 50% chance of a tropical storm developing off the southeast coast. It did shift a little further to the east with the new model runs in today. But let's talk about the general setup. Here's where the system is right now. Look at all the orange you see around it. That's dry air. So it's going to have a really hard time developing until it gets closer to the Caribbean islands and perhaps the Bahamas. That wouldn't happen until this weekend. So where could it go? Could it impact us? Still a lot of question marks since we're about a week out from any impacts. A weaker storm would move farther to the west, and a stronger storm would have a greater likelihood of being picked up by this high pressure that's steering it and perhaps coming a bit closer to the southeast coast. So this is one to watch for the U.S. as a whole. If you look at its current position, we're about 8 to 9 days out from any potential impact. So that puts us Sunday through Tuesday into next week. We will watch this for you very closely in the coming days. Still not an invest. As soon as it becomes one, we'll get those tropical model plots, and we will let you know right away on the WRAL app. 84 is our high today in our northern counties where there's not as much rain, but around the triangle, we're talking low 80s to mid 80s to the south. Temperatures really held back thanks to all the cloud cover and the rain that we've got out there today. Tomorrow, it's going to be a bit hotter. We're back near 90, still not bad for this time of year, but you're going to notice a big difference for the end of the week. We're talking mid 90s Wednesday and Thursday, even upper 90s on Friday. The heat index toward the end of the week could be near or exceed 105. So we are going to have to watch for some heat advisories by the weekend. Seasonal heat with highs in the 90s, but a lot more humid conditions will come this week. So hopefully you were able to enjoy the nice weekend weather.
And we'll enjoy the 80s while we have it. Kat, thank you. The new school year is coming up quickly. Local school systems are reminding parents about vaccine requirements. Here are their push to get students immunized at 4.
Then at 6, 5 on your side is sharing a scam alert. How scammers are exploiting the popularity of working from home to steal money from people in our area. Still ahead this noon, the investigation into a deadly train crash in Russia has just begun, but authorities say they have an idea of what led to a collision with a truck.
Another reason for people ages 50 and older to get the shingles vaccine, why the CDC might lower the age.
Infield's covered out there at the DBAP, the Durham Bulls home athletic park right there. And you see rain falling. You're looking live right now, watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Temps in the mid 70s, though, not bad. At least 2 people are dead. 100 people are being treated for injuries after a passenger train collided with a truck at a crossing in Russia. At least 9 cars jumped the tracks. You see video here showing the battered cars beside the railway track. Investigators say the signaling system was in good working order and the truck driver crossed in front of that train. Israel vows massive retaliation against Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants after a rocket attack killed 12 children. Israel says the children were on a soccer field. A bomb shelter was just feet away, but there wasn't enough time to get to it. Hezbollah denies responsibility, but the IDF says the group fired from Lebanon into the Israeli-held Golan Heights. The U.S. is condemning the attack, but urging restraint.
New today, the ex-husband of a Fayetteville woman accused of murdering her children told WRAL Investigates he was shocked to learn she was arrested. Avante Devin was charged in the murders of two of her adopted children, Blake and London. Devin was married to Tyson Alvarez from 1996 until 2006. That was before Devin adopted 5 children in North Carolina. While married to Devin, Alvarez says he had a feeling she was keeping something from him. He described her as paranoid and says she never wanted to share information about herself to anyone, even to him.
But that's what got me after all the years of not telling me the truth and never being forward or telling me anything about her past.
Tonight at 7 on WRAL News, hear what Alvarez says Avante Devin was hiding that made him leave her immediately.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are entering the last 100 days of the fast-moving, least predictable campaign seasons in memory. Rob Kirkpatrick reports on the polls showing no clear leader since President Biden left the race.
The final sprint for the White House is now underway as Donald Trump and Kamala Harris enter 100 days until the presidential election.
We have a new candidate to defeat the most incompetent, unpopular, and far-left vice president in American history.
Let us be clear-eyed. We have a fight ahead of us.
The political landscape shifted dramatically when President Joe Biden announced he is not seeking re-election. In the 7 days since, Harris has united and energized the Democratic Party. Her campaign announced she's already raised a staggering $200 million. And polls show the race tightening between her and the former president as both head to critical swing states this week. Both Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance are ramping up the attacks on Harris.
She's a radical left lunatic. She has no clue. She's evil.
Maybe the worst and most dishonest thing that Kamala Harris has done, she helped cover up Joe Biden's declining mental capacity for years.
One question still remains, who will be Kamala Harris's running mate? One name mentioned is Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who criticized Trump's record.
He broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it.
Other candidates include North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Former Attorney General Eric Holder is leading the vetting process as the Democratic Convention begins in just 3 weeks. I'm Rob Kirkpatrick reporting.
The mother at the center of last week's Amber Alert appeared in court this morning. The new details we're learning coming up.
Plus, President Biden is taking on a major political challenge. What we're expecting from an announcement with plans to reform the Supreme Court. First, here's a look at the North Carolina education winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
It's a rainy afternoon for much of our viewing area this lunch hour. Behind me, you can see it's raining in Dorothea Dix Park. A live look there. Meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, also with a live look at a gray North Hills.
The rain's coming down here as well, Renee. And the good news is the rain is a steady amount. It's not pouring rain like we had last week. And at this point, no imminent threat for flooding. So that's been nice to see. Just a nice healthy dose of rain. But we will see some slightly heavier rain move in at times. It's light right now. You can see the light shades of green in Raleigh, Apex, Holly Springs, a little heavier rain in Fuquay Arena right now, and the southern part of Wake County into Andrew. You've got some heavier rain that's headed your way, and much of Hope County has some heavier rain. This is all going to be moving to the east, and this initial band of rain is probably not going to move out until 3-4 o'clock in our eastern counties. After that, it would be more scattered showers perhaps behind it, but not as big of a band of rain on the radar. We'll have more opportunities for rain this week, and I'll outline some of our other best chances coming up.
The Durham mom charged with abducting her son was in court today. WRAL had the only camera in that Durham County courtroom for Mariah King's first appearance. Her son was the subject of an Amber Alert last week. WRAL's Monica Casey was in that courtroom, and Monica, the good news here is her son Gian is safe.
That's right. Mariah King was arrested last Friday afternoon, and that is when police found her son. Her first appearance was just over an hour ago here in Durham County Court, and the judge kept the same bond for her on that abduction of children charge. You'll remember scenes like this in South Durham on Friday, with Durham police officers searching for King and her son before they were found near these apartments on South Roxborough Street. King was crying during her first appearance, especially upset when the prosecutor argued and the judge agreed to no contact with her 9-year-old son, Gian. The prosecutor pointed out 2 failure to appear charges that King is also facing, along with her criminal history.
Her convictions date back to 2010. For disorderly conduct, assault on a government official, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, DWI, malicious conduct by a prisoner. So the state would allege that she is at least a level 3.
We also learned in court today from the defense attorney that King is a single mother of 3 children, a 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 5-year-old. That attorney asked for King's bond to be reduced to $10,000, but the judge today agreed to keep it the same at $20,000, going with the prosecution's suggestion here in court today. In Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Lawyers for the man charged in connection with the murder of a former Durham deputy's chief's son are appealing the guilty verdict. Tony Smith was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter in the death of Antonio A.J. Marsh Jr. He was shot and killed in 2021. He's the son of retired Deputy Chief Anthony Marsh Sr. Smith was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Natisha Page is charged with accessory after the fact. Her trial was continued.
President Biden is taking on a major political challenge right now, reportedly set to announce plans today to reform the Supreme Court.
As Madeline Rivera reports, he's also expected to seek a constitutional amendment to limit presidential immunity. But both proposals appear to face an uphill battle.
This would mark a major shift for President Biden. As a former chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he has long resisted calls to reform the Supreme Court. But over the last few years, the president has become increasingly critical of several of the court's rulings, like overturning Roe v. Wade and gutting affirmative action in college admissions. Per Politico, the president's proposal would include establishing term limits for justices and an enforceable code of justice. He is also considering whether to introduce a constitutional amendment limiting immunity for presidents. This comes after the High Court ruled earlier this month that former President Trump cannot be criminally prosecuted for official acts he took while in office. The president reportedly told members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus a couple of weeks ago that he had been working with constitutional scholars over the last 3 months on an initiative to limit the court. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is on board with the president's about-face.
I think what Joe Biden will do over the next 6 months is he's going to keep drawing that to the attention of the American people and reminding them when they vote in November, the Supreme Court is on the ballot.
That was Madeline Rivera reporting. Any reforms to the Supreme Court would require congressional approval. It's a tall task given the Republican-controlled House and the slim Democratic majority in the Senate. A constitutional amendment would require ratification by 38 states.
TikTok is facing new accusations by the Justice Department. The government is accusing the social media site of collecting information about user views of social issues, making it a national security threat. Court documents say TikTok uses an internal web system to collect information on things like gun control, abortion, religion, and more. That data could be sent directly to parent company ByteDance and engineers in China. The Justice Department says China could use the data to censor or influence content seen by Americans. The wife of the late Secretary of State Colin Powell has died. Alma Johnson Powell was 86 years old. She was by her husband's side during his remarkable and historic military career and served Powell was as the most recent chair of America's Promise Alliance, and nonprofit founded by her husband to help at-risk youth. Her husband, Colin Powell, was the first black Secretary of State. He died from complications of COVID-19 in 2021.
Coming up, why the nation's most prominent group of pediatricians is calling a type of surgery to help babies breastfeed as overdone and unnecessary.
Plus, your dog's nose knows how it can smell your stress and what that does to your pet's mood. Download the WRAL News app to keep up with all the big stories wherever you are. Get weather alerts and watch our newscast live right on your mobile phone or tablet.
Pediatric doctors are raising a red flag over infant tongue tie surgery. A tongue tie is when the tissue that connects your tongue to the bottom of your mouth is too short, and it's associated with breastfeeding issues. There's a long-standing history of dentists doing this minor surgery and family doctors finding out later. Now those doctors suggest other options to prevent unnecessary surgery. The vaccine that stops shingles might also slow down the effects of dementia. Researchers found that people who got the latest shingles vaccine are diagnosed with dementia on average 6 months older. The CDC currently recommends everyone get the 2-dose shingles vaccine starting at age 50. Now they're considering lowering that age recommendation.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is announcing new limits on poultry products to lower the risk of salmonella. Now companies with chicken, turkey, and other poultry will have to test for 6 types of bacteria. If bacteria is detected above a certain threshold, companies will have to recall those items. Salmonella sickness affects more than 1 million Americans every year. New research shows your bad moods could rub off on your pet. In this study, scientists recruited dogs and human volunteers. The people went through stress-inducing and stress-relieving tests, and then sweat samples were collected. The researchers found the smell of sweat from stressed out people made dogs more pessimistic about outcomes when tasked with finding a treat.
The U.S. women's gymnastics team is the most racially diverse in history. Next, we hear from the team about what the growth of the sport's diversity means for them.
And General Motors has unveiled its newest Corvette, why it's being considered the most powerful version of the sports car ever produced. A Davidson College student is relishing her first experience at the Paris Olympics, showing off her skills in canoe and kayak competitions.
I think it's like the one time in like every 4 years where we actually get to show the world our sport that we love. And, you know, everyone here is so passionate about it. And it's so crazy to be here and kind of feel the energy coming from the crowd with it.
Evie Liebfarth grew up in Bryson City in the North Carolina mountains, and her parents were avid kayakers. Her dad even serves as her coach. Liebfarth first represented the U.S. at the Tokyo Olympics. So not her first Olympics. That was in 2021. She was just 17 years old, so young. There she finished 12th in kayak, 18th in canoe.
Way to represent. The U.S. women's gymnastics team, led by 7-time Olympic medalist Simone Biles, is the most racially diverse in the team's history. Coy Wire spoke with former gymnasts about what it means to see people who look like them and what the growth of the sport's diversity means for them.
I know what it's like being the only black girl on the team and not having a role model.
Sometimes you have to see it before you can truly believe it.
It is so gratifying to see such a diverse group of women who are going to represent this country. And it truly shows that as a sport, we have come a long way.
4-time Olympic medalist Dominique Dawes was the first black female gymnast to ever win an individual medal at the Olympics at the Atlanta Games in 1996. At the 2012 London Games, Gabby Douglas became the first black gymnast to win an Olympic all-around competition. Fast forward to today, and 4 of the 5 U.S. women's Olympic gymnastics team competing in Paris are women of color. It's their most racially diverse team in history.
I was trying not to cry, honestly, when I saw the makeup of the team. I just kind of felt like in my heart, I truly felt, wow, we've finally gotten somewhere. We're finally able to truly show the talent that we had And it has nothing to do with the color of one's skin. It has to do with what they do on the mat.
This year's squad, 7-time Olympic medalist Simone Biles, reigning all-around Olympic champ Suni Lee, reigning Olympic floor champ Jade Carey, 2020 Olympic team silver medalist Jordan Childs, and rookie Hesley Rivera, the youngest member of the entire Team USA delegation.
The next generation of kids growing up, that's not a question anymore if they can do gymnastics because they don't see anybody else that looks like them. You look at our team, our national team, and you see diversity across the board. Not only black and brown girls, but you see all of the different colors.
When you see yourself in somebody else and somebody else can see themselves in you, like, I think it only makes you feel, wow, like I've done something in this world. I've been able to change like the culture in something or the diversity in something. So I just hope I can continue to, be that little light for them.
They truly represent the best of America. So far in these games, the U.S. leads the way with a total of 14 medals. The host country, France, right behind them with 13. Japan is in third with 11 total medals. And competition is going on right now in Paris, so these numbers will be changing throughout the day. But that's the latest medal count. U.S. on top.
Simone Biles, with that calf injury, she is going to compete in all 4 of her routines for the all-around. So that was good news.
That'll be tomorrow.
Coming up this morning, no doubt. And Kat Campbell is over in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now. It would be a nice day to stay in and watch some of the Olympics today.
Absolutely. And then later this week, it's just going to be too hot to be outside. So I'm glad we have something fun on TV to watch, especially women's gymnastics. I cannot wait. Outside right now, it is raining for most of us. 75 degrees, though. That's the plus side. We got a lot of cloud cover holding down temperatures along with the rain. A 70% chance of rain over the next couple of hours. 3 o'clock, that chance, 60%. And then as we move toward and past dinner time tonight, the rain should be a bit more isolated. It's a pretty widespread band of rain that we have passing through the area at this point. If you live north of I-85, though, your chances of rain a bit more limited. You can see the northward extent of this rain just kind of cutting off right before you get to Carr Lake, Lake Gaston, Roanoke Rapids. Probably not going to see too much from this band, but the rest of us, a nice steady rain out there. At least it's not coming down quite as fast as last week. Durham, you've got a steady rain falling. North side of town has a little heavier rain right now. It's a steady rain for Wake County, not terribly heavy, but parts of Harnett County as well as Hope County really have some heavier rain falling at this point. We'll continue to see a few rounds of rain early in the week. We've got another front approaching from the west. Out ahead of it, we've got this flow of moisture coming our way, and that means it's going to feel a lot more humid later this week as well. And our best chance of showers and storms come today and tomorrow. Today, the severe weather threat is limited to our west. It doesn't include our viewing area. And tomorrow, there is a level 1 out of 5 threat for severe storms for the Sandhills. So a heads up there, we can't rule out a storm with some damaging wind gusts. But overall, it's a low end or isolated threat for us. Rain chances today, 70%. Tomorrow, they are at 50%. And then as we look ahead toward Wednesday, we start to see that chance go down. There will be at least a chance every day, but by the end of the week, that chance may end up being a bit lower. Let's talk about the tropics. There's a system that we're watching that could develop as it approaches this orange blob here. What this shows is a medium chance of development, a 50% chance over the next 7 days. The path beyond the next 5 days remains uncertain, but it is possible that we could see U.S. impacts. That's still going to be in that 7 to 9 days away, and that would put us Sunday into Tuesday of next week for potential impacts. Some models, including the European model, do carry this close to the southeast coast. This will certainly be one to watch. It is not yet an invest, and what that means is it doesn't have a center of circulation. There are no model plots available, but hurricane hunters may begin flying into this system either tomorrow or Wednesday, and that should get us more data to get those models going. 82, the high today, staying pretty mild, especially for July, but by Wednesday, we're up to 94. Gets hotter from there, 95 Thursday, 97 on Friday. Thursday and Friday, the heat index could be at or near 105, so we're getting close to that heat advisory criteria again by the end of the week. The big heat is coming back. We knew it couldn't hold off for too much longer.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, a horrific scene in England. One little girl is dead. 7 others are hurt after a mass stabbing there. A Taylor Swift-themed dance and yoga event for children was taking place. At least 25 children were there. A witness described seeing bloodied children running from a community center. Police have detained the 17-year-old male suspect. They have not identified the suspect. They say he did live about 5 miles from where this event was taking place. But right now, the New York Post reporting that 1 little girl has died. 7 others have been taken to hospitals.
We're getting a closer look at what is being called the fastest, most powerful muscle car ever. We will share those specs after the break.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
Closing arguments are underway in a court case involving a series of pellet gun shootings. Henderson Atwater sat in jail for the last 2.5 years. The state says Atwater's car was near the scene of all those shootings. The defense says Atwater physically couldn't use the gun in question. The jury expects to go into deliberations very soon. More to come on our evening newscasts.
A Wake County child care worker faces assault and child abuse charges. Court papers show Ramona Fiorillo was working at Cornerstone Learning Center in Raleigh. The arrest warrant shows she is accused of picking up a 4-year-old child, slamming the child onto a chair, and squeezing the child's cheeks so hard that they bruised. WRAL is working to get a response from the Learning Center and the suspect.
An NC State graduate could make her mark in the Olympic pool in the next few hours. Catherine Burkhoff made it to the semifinals in the women's 100-meter backstroke as the #1 seed. Burkhoff will swim in the second heat, slated for just after 3 p.m. You can watch the semifinals live on WRAL. The finals are tomorrow afternoon.
Today is National Lipstick Day, a day when we celebrate the power of lipstick. It hasn't always been seen in a positive light. The British Parliament banned lipstick in 1770, saying that it could trick men into marriage. Today, most people like to use lipstick to make a statement or pull an outfit together.
The newest version of the famous Corvette is a combination of something old and something new. And there it is, blue. The all-new 2025 Corvette ZR1 comes with a massive 1,000 horsepower engine. It hit 215 miles per hour on a racetrack. The new ZR1 will also bring back the split window the Corvette is known for. It comes in colors like competition yellow, hysteria purple, Sebring orange. It could sell for as much as $180,000. But Chevrolet says they'll reveal the price tag closer to production.
I could see myself in competition yellow. How about you take hysteria purple?
I'm okay with that. Anything that goes that fast, be fun.
Looks chic. That's all the time we have here on Fox 50. You can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app.
Have a great day. Stay dry.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.